It's been a while since I've recorded on here, and I have to say, I apologize. It is late March, but I needed to get an episode out. And I decided to talk about my injury that happened in October. So there was a guy who I was playing against. We'll just call this guy Caleb for reasons. So Caleb um, grabbed the back of my arm, grabbed my arm, grabbed my stick in such a way where my shoulder was twisted. And then while I was trying to recover, he pushed me from behind, and I fell down onto the my shoulder and injured my shoulder and needed physical therapy. I was not happy with Caleb. The play was dead. Everyone was going. I was supposed to hustle back and back check and go on defense, but he held my stick. I couldn't skate, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing? And then it's and I was like trying to screen the goalie, which you're supposed to do as a forward when you're on offense, and he just something, pulled a muscle of mine, and I never truly forgave him because I was ready to do so. Okay, I was ready to do so, and uh, and what happened was that when I actually did in the bar where we all congregate, whether you're on, uh, depending on whether regardless of what team you're on in my league, we all go to Brass Monkey. So I see him at Brass Monkey, and he seems cool at first. But then 2 weeks later, when I meet him in a game, and he taunts me with that over my head, I'm ready to roll right through him, and then I get into a bit of a rage. I even get a roughing penalty, and I don't even care. I go to the box, and I am just so distracted by that, and it's like I also was just very mad, and I was willing to take it out on his teammates too. The point of this episode is to make sure you don't go into a rage and just hurt people. Now, Caleb did wind up getting suspended for at least 3 games, which was essentially 3 weeks because we play a game a week in our league, and he I don't know what he did. I mean, like he really had a bad temper, and he was 2 years younger than me, and like if the physical therapist told me to hang up the skates, I was ready to hang up the skates because I didn't want to play with a bunch of dirty lounge cheaters. And I'm in a no checking league too. This one, I think what is bothering me is that you are in your late 20s or in your early 30s. You're still working a 9 to 5. You're doing, you're trying to put food on the table. You're trying to actually get your life started and actually find the woman of your dreams. You're doing all that, and then that happens. I mean, it's not easy. It's just not, to do that. You know, you're paying $400 to be in a league too. And I have a game tonight. $400 to be in a league, and that happens, and then you have to pay for physical therapy. It's one reason why people quit playing beer league, and it's also part of the reason why you don't want to get injured, and it's much easier to weightlift and train because you're not facing off against anyone else, and for the most part, as long as you're not doing scrimmages. I mean, just simple weightlifting can certainly if an effect on you and just help you out. I am a little bit disappointed in myself because had I not been so just such in pain with my shoulder at the time, I would have certainly wanted to just start a fight. I was like very mad at him after. If I had not been in pain, I probably would have raged against him, and and I did and I got a roughing penalty against one of his teammates a few weeks later. I took that anger out on him, on whoever that teammate was, and then I literally apologized to the guy, and then it's like I lost it too. I mean, our rage can get the best of us, and we cannot let that, get the better of us, because we'll wind up failing in the long run. We'll fail ourselves, and that's a good way to get suspended. That's a good way to get kicked out of games, and you have to be better than that. I mean, there's a lot of dirty players in the NHL who make it, and their reason is to protect the stars. And they will take penalties. They will act like assholes and everything of the sort. But I mean, you know, there's a certain way to play the game. You have to have class. You have to do things in a certain manner to keep the flow of the game going correctly. And I think you need to consider that, moving forward with whatever you're doing, whether it's soccer, hockey, baseball, even, just competing. You have to keep a cool head on your shoulders. There was a kid that I just saw on Facebook's video feature. And so this 14-year-old wrestler was wrestling a 16-year-old wrestler, and the 14-year-old wins the bout. He wins the wrestling match or whatever, and he goes to shake the 16-year-old kid's hand, and the 16-year-old cheap shots him and punches him in the face, and the 14-year-old falls down on a cheap shot because there was no way for him to defend himself because he was vulnerable. And that kid was suspended for a year, and the comments were like, "Oh yeah, we see prison in his future too." When a kid does that, it usually stems from bad parenting. Now, many of you are parents of the sort, and some of your kids are playing hockey. Maybe some of your kids will go into a checking league soon, and they have to honor what the ref says. Even if they don't like it, they just have to sit in the box for 2 minutes or 4 minutes. It's not the end of the world if the ref gets the call wrong. You still have to keep the flow of the game going, to first honor yourselves and honor your opponents, because that's what hockey is about. There's a certain honor to be kept, and if you take some cheap shots, you board someone, you cross-check someone, you check them from behind, it disrupts the flow of the game. We want this to keep moving. In hockey, the clock moves more than any other sport. It flows, and when that's disrupted on a constant basis, it impedes the flow of the game. People's ice time gets cut, and everyone's out of their element, and they're trying to get locked in to the game. And if they can't do that, it's hockey eventually does not become fun anymore, and you lose it too. I mostly discuss the NHL on this podcast. Crosby getting 20 points. I'm sorry, 20 seasons with a point per game. I'm going to look that up right now. But Sidney Crosby went through a lot, though. He went through so many injuries, and he did deal with some bad people. He did, he dealt with some schmucks. Points per game, 20 years. Okay. Yeah, Crosby is assured finishing his 20th NHL season, averaging at least a point per outing. Despite all of that, even when you do have these bad actors, so to speak, you have these bad actors and everything of the sort, you still have to persevere. And I know that you can do it. And I think that's what Crosby has done. Um, I will talk. I would like to talk a little bit about him. The over, um, you know, you know, despite everything, he still persevered. No one really thought that could happen, and the only one that really could average out a point per game, the only one else was Gretzky, and he still managed to get through. Sidney Crosby and the Penguins are not bound for the playoffs, or at least not at the moment. I mean, we're probably not going to see the Penguins in there. You know what? I'll just say that right now. We're not. And the now, I think he is dominated. He is certainly a Hall of Famer to this point. If in 2023 the Penguins did win one of those last two games, I think we're looking at a very different cycle of players and aspects to this. We could have, the Panthers could have probably traded some people, and and Florida would have not been the hockey town it is. I'm sorry, Sunrise would have not been the hockey town it is now. But the perseverance of everything and just going through all this struggle and making it is what makes you a better person. There are a lot of bad people in this world, and there are people that will cheat you out. There are people that will be rude. There will be girls that will reject you, and yet you still have to persevere. You know, and you may be behind in life. You know, you may be ahead of other people, but you still must persevere, because it's the only way you go forward. You know, it's basically I was you know, there was some knick-knack Pixar. I don't know if you guys are too familiar with it. It was the one little cartoon before Finding Nemo, whether it was on the DVD or in theaters. But what you did in there, you know, for that was that you would, what you would do in that, in the little cartoon, this snowman's trying to get out and meet this, meet this beautiful woman from sunny Miami there. But he's a snowman, he's stuck in a globe, and you know, and but the point of the thing from the creator said, in life you get what you need. I do not think that video, that cartoon was portrayed correctly. I don't think, your 9-year-old self is going to be interpreting that of you get what you need in life. I mean, the snowman did have a home, and he was built for his surroundings in the snow globe. But he wanted to be with all the other knickknacks too. So it's also not wrong to take a break from hockey, is what I'm trying to say too. It's not wrong to take a break from it, but and you still have your friends. You're not stuck in a snow globe. You can see them anytime you want. Um, no, but in life you do get what you need too. Now, he's scrambling. Now, that I think about it, the snowman was, in a rush to just get out, and he couldn't relax. He was in a rush this whole time, and he wanted to just be with, find someone that, but in the midst of all that, he had this emergency exit. And as the snow globe is falling, he gets out of the emergency exit. Then he falls into the fishbowl where a mermaid knickknack is there. And he's like, I'm going to go over there and talk to her. And then the snow globe plops down on to him, and he's trapped again. But yet again, he could still walk out and try and get there. And I suppose in the sequel, whoever was collecting the knickknacks would just put him back there too. But I think the problem is, sometimes the door's right there. You can leave, but you know, don't struggle trying to solve a simple problem. I think that's also the message of what the cartoon was saying, though. So there's that. There have been times where I wanted to quit hockey personally, and I needed to just get this episode out personally because as much as I like talking about the NHL and what's going on in this historic season of both Crosby and Ovechkin and the Four Nations and even the Heritage, even the Stadium Series between Columbus and Detroit, after all that and possibly all 7 Canadian teams having a chance to make playoffs, everything that has happened this season, everything. This could be the greatest season ever, but but we still need to reflect on ourselves, and and we are going through, and many of you are going through tough times, whether you're worried about a job, whether you're worried about your kids, or you're just trying to pay the bills and just trying to make it on your own. I mean, we're all trying to do this on our own, and it sucks. It's a struggle. I don't know how we're gonna, I don't know what's gonna happen in the next year. I don't know what's gonna happen in the next. I'm not even sure what's gonna happen in the next 2 months, to be honest with you. But I'm gonna get through it. I'm gonna do whatever it takes. I need to get this out personally. I mean, I'm going through a lot, and I wish, someone was here, right here, listening with me and like just holding, and just being with me, because it can be a lonely world. Like the snowman from Knick Knack, he was a very lonely man and just wanted to be with someone too. Sometimes you can find the strength within yourself to rise against all odds. And I think I'll leave it at that. If you liked this episode, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. Check out the links in the show notes. And with that being said, take care.